Have you seen? Welcome back Between the Ribs, by the way. Have you seen the backlash and how quick Political Fact and the Democratic Party has shot down this notice that what's the lady's name? Oh my gosh, Mitchell. She's bringing to the table, telling everybody that it's unconstitutional. The executive order 14019 that Biden signed into law. Now he put it into law, or he signed it back in like 2021 or 2022 or something.
March 7th of 2021.
Yes,
I did my homework.
You did. Did you read all the way through that and the word salad that it does?
I did, and I took notes.
Oh, good. Well, let me hear it. What do you got?
So this is nothing new, and it does say that. Okay, so it is supposed to make voting more accessible for all Americans, particularly those who face significant obstacles. Those people are people of color, individuals with disabilities, and overseas military personnel. And it's also said it's a policy to promote and defend rights for Americans who are legally entitled to participate in elections.
Right.
And it also helps establish Native American voting rights with a steering group. And I didn't really get too far into that because I don't know what a steering group is, and you gave me a lot of homework to do. So it does, for one, I didn't know it was, well, a significant obstacle still to be a person of color. I thought that we were all back to being equal.
Right, the equality, and yes.
And I certainly would never say, those people less fortunate, the people of color.
Right.
That's not a disability.
Keep going, continue.
Yeah.
Because you got to get all the way to like the last page.
Okay, well, I think I stopped right there.
Oh, that's where you stop.
Wait.
It's a long order. There's a lot to it.
It builds on the 1993 law, the National Voter Registration Act. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, continue. Yes, it is built on something that was already there.
Expands voting places to military offices, DMVs, and federal agencies. I didn't realize that before 1993, that those weren't like just voting precincts.
Well,
anyway.
Okay, so here's why. So normally when you go to vote or you go to register to vote or you do what you have to do to become a voter, because not everybody, if you don't register to vote, you can't vote, right? You have to register to vote. So it's important to register. And if you're not registered, please go register to vote.
I think it might be too late to register.
I think the deadline has passed for this cycle.
For the November voting.
But while we're talking about it, while we're in election mode, while we're talking about campaigns, and it's fresh on your mind, go out and register to vote before you miss another critical voting process, right? So part of that law was it banned federal employees that were either Democrat or Republican to sign people up to vote, to register them, and in any way whatsoever persuade them on what party they should affiliate with, what party they should align with, what party they should register under. So that's why prior to that, they didn't want you doing it at federal buildings, especially if, let's say, a Republican president's in office. They were scared. And it goes both ways. It protects both sides.
I can see
saying,
that.
Well, like, hey, I'm a Republican. Let's say in Florida, Ron DeSantis is in office. We're registering you to vote. There's a picture of Ron DeSantis on the wall behind us, right? Because he's the governor right now, Governor Ron DeSantis. Or in a that's more state, but in a federal building with Joe Biden and the Harris administration, or when Trump was in office, and the people registering everything around them is the current administration atmosphere ambiance. So when they get there, they're more likely to sign up and register under that party because that's the party in service right now. So it's just kind of like one of those, not oxymorons, but one of them subconscious decisions you make that you don't realize you're making. It's like buying candy at the register when you're checking out the grocery store. They put the candy up there right by the register because they know if it's on aisle 9, you're probably not going to pick it up.
Right.
But if you're standing there watching all your groceries go by and you're bored and you're a little bit hungry and there's a quick snack, you're just going to pick it up and grab it. You may not have intentionally wanted to grab a snack, but because the snack was there and it's right by the checkout, you'll grab your quick little energy drink or soda and a bag of chips or a candy bar or a mint or whatever is right there at the register. So if you take that precedent, and even though that's very elementary and it's very basic, but there is a lot of psychology to why people do what they do. So this law prior to Joe Biden executive order was to make registration places and voting places nonpartisan, where you went in and there was no persuasion of any kind. All right.
So you have to, but then nobody would be motivated to vote. I mean, it seems like,
Well,
not motivated to register.
yeah, but that's where it is. You're supposed to be able to register under your own free will,
Right.
without persuasion of one party or the other. That's the great thing about the United States of America and being an American. You have so-called the right to choose, which we know now we don't have that right anymore. They give us two people to fight over, and
then the Electoral College.
and then you have the electoral. Yeah, you have, and we're a representative democracy, not a direct democracy. And if you don't know what that means, a direct democracy is 51% wins. The majority wins. A representative democracy is when we all select 2 or 3 people to go up and represent us. And we have the Electoral College based on our states that we win, we vote, so many votes get counted. And that's kind of how our process is. The older I get and the more I learn about politics, I almost, and I say this half-heartedly because I don't 100% know yet, but I'm almost leaning toward, I think we need to be a direct democracy where it's like, hey, there's 100,000 of us and 51,000 of us voted for this. It's the way we want to go. The majority wins. That's very good, but it's also very bad because the vote of the 49,000 don't get counted anymore. So I understand why we do what we do, but when the people that are elected to represent us no longer represent us and they represent the majority, aren't we still a direct democracy?
Direct democracy leads directly to communism. I believe that was.
You think so?
Because I do. I'm trying to go back through my notes because I had it all documented out.
Right.
My dad had called me and we were talking about this and I was like, I'm going to bring this up next time it comes up, but now I can't find my notes.
Oh, well, keep looking because I really want to have this conversation because I'm kind of, like I said, I'm leaning toward, the whole majority rule thing. And here's why. All right. Because the representative democracy that we're currently under, to me, is broken. And the people that we are electing to represent us, they don't represent us. They represent that 51% majority anyway. So to me, I would rather have less people in the way and let more people vote and see the options of voting. And then if you're like, wow, we really messed up, next time I need to vote, I need to count more, or maybe I shouldn't have voted that way, I need to vote another way. The power of the vote is back in your hand. And I can name politician after politician that no longer properly represents us. And now we're stuck with the swamp of Washington. And you have all these people from our hometowns that supposedly care and know us and know what we want and know what better suits us. But it always seems that the vote does not go for the people anymore. It always goes for the agenda and the powerful group, the majority, if you will. So it's a very complex situation. If you read all the way through this executive order, Joe Biden has now opened up and allowed people to vote more freely with less regulation. Now, of course, they deny it. They say it's a lie. They say it's 100% false. That nowhere in that is our taxpayer money going to harvest votes and get vote balloting done and get illegal people to vote. Okay? That's what they say. They shut it down quick.
Right. Legal Americans.
Right. They shut it down quick. But riddle me this. Okay? The Arizona Supreme Court just ruled that 98,000 people without confirmed citizenship now have the right to vote in the state of Arizona.
Then they're doing it wrong because that is not what he stated in that law.
But he did open the door for this because if you read all the way through, he is allowing voting registration to now be done in federal buildings at a federal level with federal employee assistance. Okay? So you have people who want, obviously, the current administration to stay in power. So they get together and they propose things like out in Arizona right now. This is a true story. They went to the Supreme Court of Arizona and they said, yeah, we were good with this. They just allow where 98,000 people in Arizona who are not confirmed citizens now have the right to vote in Arizona races. Those votes and those decisions will ultimately lead to a different electoral college, higher numbers, more people voting in the state, more people you have in the state, the higher the electoral college, right? It's all about population. So it's a long game, if you will, but it's still a violation of the American people. And the reason I brought this story up isn't necessarily to like break apart this executive order, but it's to show you the power and the manipulation of the media and why we live in such a dangerous time. Because Project 2025 that we've talked about from a conservative Republican side, which there's a few things that are kind of like a far stretch, don't get me wrong. I've read through it and I don't agree with everything in there, but there's a lot of stuff that I think is great, like put America first, take care of our kids, better care for the veterans, get rid of all the crap that's going on in our government. I agree with a lot of Project 2025. But Trump is not in office. Trump has not even come close to saying, I endorse this, I support this.
Yeah, he says he hasn't even read it because it's not on his radar right now.
Right. But every channel you turn on, every debate, Kamala Harris brought it up in her last debate.
Constantly.
Everyone is, if you want to know what kind of president he is, just go read Project 2025.
He didn't write it. How's that make it law?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm going with this. Something that they want to brainwash us and instill hate among people, they take and they run with it like it's the gospel. My grandpa used to say that. You talk about it like it's the gospel. Like the gospel is honest and true. It's the gospel of Jesus Christ. You run with it like it's the gospel and you don't know head from tail. So they push that down our throat because they want us to believe the lie and hate each other. But then something that's actually written and has been signed by the current president, and yes, you can read through that and say, well, that's not what he meant, and that's not exactly what he said, but it opened the door for this stuff to start happening. It opened the door for Arizona to bring in 98,000 people. It opened the door for the Haitian influx population into Ohio. And will Ohio follow suit with Arizona and start letting a bunch of people who aren't legal in Ohio start voting? And as the states change, by allowing more and more people inside those states to vote that aren't supposed to vote, those are potentially harvesting votes that will affect the outcome of an election, a presidential election. And the problem I have with it, and this is why I brought this story up. Let me get back to this real quick. They debunk, right? They come out and they say that's been debunked. We've looked into that. We fact-checked that. And our sources say that that's a bold-faced lie. And then we're supposed to believe that. And we're supposed to go to bed and never talk about it again. But then something that we have on our side, on the conservative, Christian, Republican side, and we say, well, wait a minute, that's a lie. You're manipulating that. That's not exactly what President Trump said, or that's not what he's going after. And they're like, oh, you bunch of crazies. You're just covering for him, and you're all a bunch of MAGA racists that's just trying to change the country and take us backwards in time and blah, 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 blah. How do we fix it? That's my question. I'm going to leave you with that. We'll be right back, but ponder this during the break. How do we fix our system?